today. We are so lucky. We have Mike joining us, and he's going to teach us more about the REPC. This class is meant not only for a new agent, but for all of you experienced agents as well. So I know you'll all walk away with something that you can apply today. Let's just manifest it. You're all going to get a REPC today, right, Mike? Oh, looks like we've got Jack here. The fun begins. All of our favorite people. All right. Well, Mike, I'm going to let you run through the slides. But before we do that, we have a very special person that we want to introduce. And I'm going to let him do his introduction because no matter what I say, it will not be sufficient. But what I can say is this, I can't say young man anymore. Ian's grown up, KW. And he has completely transformed in the years that I've known him. He cares so deeply about Keller Williams. This is his career. He wants to stay here. And he's been in Florida working at 3 market centers. So his experience is really a high level, and you're going to be able to talk to him every day. So Ian, come on up.
Thank you, Carrie. Well, hello, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces. My KW journey started here at South Valley. So it is awesome to be returning back to KW South Valley, the best office, if you ask me. It's an honor to be back. I love KW. I like to tell people I was born into KW. My mom is Amy, MCA. So I've been here forever, always been in and out of South Valley. I officially joined KW in 2019, and I've been bouncing all around different offices since then. But I'm very excited to be back to where my heart is here at South Valley. I am officially the Market Center Technology Trainer and the Director of Agent Services here. So I'm very excited to start working with all of our lovely agents here. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Okay, testing. Okay, works. Awesome. Okay, I just want to go through a case study or a scenario. Okay. We have 180 180 homes between single family condos and townhomes that qualify for our end of year incentive, which is 3% from the seller, must use First Colony mortgage, okay, and must be a conventional loan. But they get 3% from the seller, and they get 5.99% promotional interest rate, 6.148 APR. Okay. And where do you find them? Where do you find the 180 some odd homes? How do you know about them? Yes. Okay. But typically what would you do? You'd maybe go on the MLS, you'd start looking up new construction. Then every single listing has a listing agent and a co-listing agent. Then you're like, how do I see the floor plans, the design selections, the color palette? You know, how do I make an appointment? Can I see a sample contract? Are these things that would enter your psyche? Like you'd go through this, right? So I want to try and show you how easy it is to do this if you use my Realtor portal. Okay. All right. So we want to find out what's available. We're going to go right here to the quick access section and go to inventory reports. Okay, now you see inventory reports. You can download and print all condos, all townhomes, oh, this should say all single family. Okay, got to change that. Anyway, so we come right here to quick move-ins, all product type being condos, townhomes, and single family. And right here, this little blue icon is how you filter stuff. And I have filled it out and said, date complete before December 20th, because homes have to close before December 20th to qualify for this end of year incentive. Okay. And so right here, you've got all 67 single family homes. Okay. It tells you the community, it gives you the property address, its availability status, which way it faces, the floor plan, the list price, the date it was complete, and then here you can click view details, or here you can click open, and they do the same thing. You just click view the details on this particular home, Mountain Ridge, lot 2201. MR stands for Mountain Ridge. You could register a client, you could make an appointment with me, you could submit an offer. You have all of the details. It's a single family, 2-story, Morgan floor plan, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 3,400 square feet. Okay. And then you want design selections, plans. It will open the detailed plans, the design selections, the exterior or interior color palette. You can just click on these and open them right up. Okay? Or you could just click download all, and it will download all the floor plans, all the design selections, all the color palettes into one document and one PDF, and you email that to your clients and say, let me know if you want to see this house. Okay. And I can help you with any listing in any community at any stage of construction, build lot,
Hey.
anything.
What's up?
So, hi,
Mm,
Katie.
I am. Um,
Katie, we can hear you here in the meeting room. They told me to just have you mute. Sorry. Okay. So that's right there. Or if you just want to go and learn about communities, as I've told you, if you say, my buyer wants something in Saratoga Springs, okay? They want single family in Saratoga Springs. So single family, I see a couple of communities in Saratoga Springs. Let's open High Ridge. Again, you've got all of the information. You can request a showing, register a client, review a sample contract. You can make an offer on a particular property. This shows you all the available homes. HR stands for High Ridge. All the homes, High Ridge 250. It opens this up. You come down to the design selections. Here's all your full plans, design selections, color palettes. The same drill, okay? You can get all the HOA information, the community brochure that has all your HOA details. Okay. There's all your HOA fees and details, all of your utilities and schools. It's all right here. And it's the same functionality across all communities, across all product types. And if you just need to get familiar with it, I'm happy to take 2 to 5 minutes and walk you through it. The people that have done that have sworn by it. They love it. And I hope that you will give it an opportunity. I call it Jack's Hacks, for lack of a better term. As we go into the new year, I am looking for realtor partners that want to explode in the new construction space, that want to be absolutely at the top of their game and be able to send information to potential investors quickly, efficiently, and just blow their minds, wow them, so that they bring you a client and then they tell their friends to bring you a client and they're like, oh my gosh, so-and-so at Keller Williams South Valley is the bomb. You know, if you want to be into investment. And then the last thing that I want to pitch right now is new construction. How many of you on a resale transaction, if you have buyers, could do better than a 5.99% interest rate and 3% cash from the seller. It is tough to beat. Very, very tough to beat. How many of you could ask your seller for 6% in closing costs and just have the seller raise the purchase price and hand out cash? Most resale sellers can't do that. Builders can. You could say, hey, we need more in closing costs and we're putting 10% down, which would allow a seller to put 6%. So the seller increases the purchase price by X amount and then credits back that towards closing costs, so your buyer doesn't have to come up with cash out of pocket. New construction is a fantastic opportunity, and it's coming up on end of year. Builders want to sell homes. They want to have improved end of year numbers. Keep that in mind, and if you have buyers interested, make an offer and ask for what you want. So my name is Jack Attack, Car Jack, Wall Jack, Audio Jack, Jackass, Jack Squad, whatever. And I am happy to help. I've been doing it for over a decade. I've sold over 600 homes, and I love doing it. I love doing it for the clients. I love doing it for you guys, and I try to be your easy button in the new construction space. So I hope you'll reach out, and I'm happy to help. I update it. So like I'll sit down there, and if we get notified of an offer, I'll click pending offer and it pops off of that list. It's done. So largely it is real time, up to date. So that is another benefit. The difference, sorry, I'll get to you just a sec. The difference between a static list and an active list, I've explained the distinction before. A static list is Edge Homes at one specific point in time creates a marketing flyer and they send that out, and occasionally you'll get an email from an Edge agent or 17 of them, with that flyer. But very often, by the time you get it, there's already 6 offers, on the homes there. So then you're spinning your wheels and you're like, okay, so what is available? I don't know what's available. Okay. Or you get your client's hopes up on 2 homes and both of those are gone. So the active list is mine, where I just update it. Anytime it's an offer, I change the status and it is no longer filtered showing as an available move-in. It's just off the list. So anything that's on there is available. So great question. You had a question.
I was just curious what the website was again.
I will send it to you, because I have to send an onboarding link so that I know who my realtor partners are. So text me or email me, jack@edgehomes.com. And then if you ever just want a 5-minute walkthrough of it, bring it up on a large computer screen and call me, and I'll just walk you right through it. Okay?
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy lunch.
Thank you. Check. Take advantage of that, guys. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Jack, for coming in to consistently support our office. And, guys, support the people that come in and support us. So thank you. Barry's going to get us set up here. You guys are stuck with me today for the rest of the team meeting. Is that okay? Is that okay? Okay. Thank you, Barry. We start with birthdays. We have any birthday people here? Zula, Randall, Justin, Eric, Diane, Chris, anybody here? All right, let's give a happy birthday to those that have birthdays. Let's see, office closed. You guys assume we're probably closed on the 28th. We decided that we're not doing the whole week. Just kidding. Okay. All right. So next Thursday, Friday, office is going to be closed. So plan accordingly. Let's see. Now I think this is for the 26th team meeting, agent production award show next week. All right. Tyler's class. Meet the Masters, Tyler DeMars. You guys know who Tyler is, right? Okay, he's our former team leader. He should be familiar to you. Come to these classes, guys. You're going to learn a lot of great stuff. Everybody asks me, what are people doing to sell homes? Well, come and learn. Okay, and Tyler's going to specifically talk about wealth building and investment strategies, and he's doing it. Thank you, Barry.
Put in a little plug for him. I've been to his class and he is phenomenal at teaching it.
Yep.
And I left with so many nuggets.
Fantastic.
I would.
So Tyler, if you're listening on Zoom or somewhere, you just got a good plug. Absolutely. Put this stuff on your schedule, guys. Come. This is one here I'm going to put a plug on because I wanted to brand it as the mandatory residential class. How many people know what the mandatory residential class is? I'm going with Allie all the way in the back. Yell it. Every renewal, right? So every 2 years, you have to take a mandatory class. You can do mandatory residential, mandatory commercial, and I think they actually have a mandatory property management. For those of us in residential, it's good to have the residential mandatory course, right? So you get 3 CE credits, it's core. Curtis has the ability to work with this course a little bit and really focus on the new forms that we've had and the practice changes. So it's a little more intense with contract law and these practice changes. It's going to be really good. He did this class a couple months ago up at our Salt Lake office, and they had a packed house. So it's coming in on December 10th. It is really going to be pertinent to the changes we've got and maybe even some additional changes coming up. So come because you'll get the course. If you just renewed, you can knock it out. You don't have to worry about tracking that course down. It does seem like a tricky one because I get calls from people on the renewals, and everybody knows, guys, right? Every 2 years, you have to have 18 hours of CE, of which 9 has to be core, and of which you have to take the mandatory course. Cool? All right. So put that on your calendar. That's going to be a really good class. Okay, Emily's Drive 2025. That's kind of our office theme for this upcoming year. And that's going to be on Tuesday for team meeting on December 17th. Final wrap up of 2024, tool strategies going into 2025. Who in here, show of hands, who started business planning, thinking about possibly doing it for 2025? I'm kind of a half raise myself. Okay. We got a little bit of time, but take advantage of some of these tools that we're giving you, okay? Madeline. Drive is our theme for next year. Drive 2025. Do you want to? Madeline's going to talk about her Rise in Gratitude class.
Hello. Yes, so I'm partnering with KW Cares. We're wanting to rebuild the fund with the holiday season. People sometimes get in hot water and we want to be able to provide. But for it's actually this Saturday at 10 to 11:30, and we're doing Rising Gratitude Root in Yoga. So we're going to just think about the year, express gratitude for everything that has been created, and then also create space for what we intend to bring forth next year. We'll do a great yoga flow, meditation, opening circle, and if you feel like you want to bring a journal, I will offer journal prompts. I think the more that we can bring what's in our mind into reality, then we're able to get clarity on it. It's gonna be fun. I'm more of like a fun, energetic teacher, so I'm super excited. I've been teaching for about 3 years now. Have done 5 yoga teacher trainings, so I have a variety of practices that I will incorporate in our flow, and it's for a great cause. So hope to see you there. It's gonna be here. It's here. Yeah.
Here at the office, yeah.
You don't have to say just bring a towel. The floor's already not hard like cement. We've got the front bed. That's stopping.
Yeah. So bring a yoga mat, water, journal, and then if you don't have a yoga mat, it's okay. I have a few extra, or bring a blanket.
Awesome.
Any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, a good round of applause. Thank you, Madeline. Disco Wonderland holiday party. Who's coming to the Christmas party? All right. So,
Has a plethora of disco.
so that's bell bottoms and big collars. All right. Guys, put that on your calendar, do the QR code scan there now, get registered, come to it. There's no charge. Get to know some of the other agents in the office. As you know, if you ever do events, is it nice to have RSVPs? Okay, the office is the same thing. So if you get a chance, please get RSVP. Pickleball. So we had, if you were paying attention, we had pickleball scheduled, I think actually for next week, a tournament, but just with the holidays and that we bumped it. So February 7th, 2025, we'll keep the information going out on it, and we're going to do that that's an office pickleball tournament. That is a great question. The question was, how experienced do you have to be? And Barry raised his hand. Tell us, Barry.
So when you register for this, there's different levels that you'll indicate your level of experience. We'll have 10 courts. So we'll divide the courts up based on experience. So if you have no skills, don't worry. We'll have instructors there to teach you the game. So yeah, don't worry about your level of play. We'll match you up accordingly.
So there's no requirement. If you've never played pickleball, this can be the first time. So cool. Family reunion. Anybody going to family reunion? Couple hands I see. Okay. It'll be here before you know it. So take a look at it. QR code there if you want. And then, okay, that's it. Thank you for coming. Just kidding. We're going to talk a little bit about REPC. Hey, I got some news that I went to the broker town hall yesterday, which was really good. And I thank UAR and NAR and everybody for putting that on. Guess what we're getting tomorrow? Getting some new forms, updated forms. We're getting a new listing agreement. I saw it. I can't show it to you yet. I'm going to check and see if it is actually in there. Barry, I hit exit, right? Escape. All right, you guys gonna have to bear with me because I need to get in there. Anyway, tomorrow we are getting an update to the listing agreement. There's an update to the brokerage compensation agreement. The listing agreement is the one that I am most excited about because it's going to, remember how we've been talking for the past few months about, especially with unrepresented buyers. And in the beginning, we were all scared. We can't go low to high, high to low, all that stuff. And we had to do addendums and all that. And then UAR told us, yeah, we're okay. We can just do an addendum and say what the fee is. Well, they're making it a lot easier for us, and there's some clarifications on it. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be going through that. And let's see how good my memory is too. Does anybody else hate this stuff? Is there any way to get away from this stuff, like these verification codes? Somebody is, thank you. And then they don't. ABEU. Yeah, thanks, Who's okay. Yeah, sorry, Barry. All right, we're going to pull up because I want to talk about REPC today, but yeah, so we got some tweaks to the forms to make it easier. I expect that we're going to continue to see those over the next 6 months. How's everybody felt with the practice changes? What are we, 90 days into it now? August, yeah, somewhere around there. Anybody noticing anything different? Any challenges with us losing the BBC on the MLS?
It was almost easier when we could put the percentage up that they were getting, because now everybody on every listing I've had asks for 3%.
Yeah.
It is easier for your client if they hadn't agreed to 66% though, to say, well, this is what they're asking. What do you think about this? And then so far I've had them all say, yeah, we can go ahead.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's I think it's been smoother than what maybe at least what I anticipated. I thought we'd see a few more hiccups with the practice changes, but guys, it's here to stay. Stay on top of it. Again, you got two ways to deal with if you're representing a buyer. If your buyer wants, unless the buyer wants to pay your commission. Do they have that option? Okay. Are most going to choose that option? No. Okay. All right. So you can use the broker to broker compensation agreement. Everybody knows, I want everybody to know the real estate brokerage compensation agreement. So if I have a buyer, pick on Shelly because she's right here. If Shelly's the listing agent, I can just show the home and write an offer on it and put the brokerage fee in the REPC, correct? Yes. I can call Shelly and say, Shelly, is your seller offering cooperative compensation? And she could say, yes, that's up to 2.5%. So I, as the buyer's agent, can fill out the real estate brokerage compensation agreement, fill it out for, even if my buyer broker is 3%, I can do 2.5%, right? I could ask for 3, but I've talked to Shelly. She's probably not going to sign it. But if I do it at 2.5 and I send it and Shelly signs it, I've secured 2.5% if we get under contract. Everybody agree? Okay, that's fine. If I want the additional 0.5%, can I put it in the REPC? Yes. Just be careful with the numbers, guys. And, the listing agent may not. Now, if I call Shelly and she says, well, they will consider it, but we just want you to put it in the offer, so I can't sign the brokerage compensation agreement. Is that okay? Does Shelly and the seller, on behalf of the seller, does she have to sign the brokerage compensation agreement? No, guys. So if you call, there are certain brokerages. I'm picking on Coldwell, but I talked to one of the great Coldwell brokers, and they did confirm Coldwell Banker is not using the brokerage compensation agreement. Their listing agents and their sellers can still say that they're going to offer compensation, whatever amount, but it has to be put in the REPC. So just be prepared that we're seeing a lot of brokerages do that. And if you're the buyer's agent on it, that's the best way to put it. Don't get bent out of shape if they won't sign it. Some brokerages are just not allowing the compensation agreement. So just a quick recap on that. Today, I wanted to talk about the REPC, and we're going to go through every section. So you guys are good till about 2 o'clock? Come on. I should make everybody stand up and do jumping jacks. I was just going through, and I think Rich told me, he said, never do a REPC class in November or December. And I don't know why. I'm teasing. Real estate purchase contract. You guys see that okay? Sorry about my glasses, guys. I got some notes. I'm not going to real deep dive. I'm just going to show. Obviously, you guys know at the top, I like to read, if you desire legal or tax advice, consult your attorney or tax advisor. Read that to your clients. Point that out to them. Sometimes people want to have stuff reviewed. Okay? Rare, but they still have that option. Do your due diligence, right? With your fiduciary duties. You guys know how to put a date in there and the buyer. What happens if you don't know, or you pull from county records and you're not sure the name of the seller? What do? You leave it blank? Call, but you call me and the listing agent and I'm up skiing and I'm not answering the phone and
Owner of record.
write it on there. I'm just giving you some of my best practice today. Owner of record. Will the mortgage lender want that maybe clarified in an addendum at some point? It's fine. Don't leave it blank. Owner of record is what I would recommend. You can copy and paste from tax ID, but sometimes it's a trust and all that kind of stuff, or you can call Marcel. Fairness to the other title reps out there, you can call your title rep and say, can you give me the exact name of what you're showing on that? They'd be happy to do that. But a lot of times we're writing the offer. If I'm not sure, or I can't figure out the name of the trust or something, I'm just going to put owner of record. Everybody cool with that? All right. So, and then we go to earnest money, dollar amount. But what I want to talk about in the form of, what do you guys put? Wire or check? Okay, that's what I probably see most of the time. Check or wire. Does KW South Valley accept a wire as earnest money? No. We don't. We don't. Just telling you that. Don't wire earnest money. Who uses earnest? Earnest, what do you call it? Is it earnest? Earnest? Earnest. Who uses earnest in here? Is earnest a wire? Is it a wire? It's not a wire. So, guys, I'm getting real technical. Here's what I'd recommend when you do earnest money. Check or electronic transfer. That'll cover wire, earnest. You just never know. You know, it's just what I'm seeing on that. Sooner or later, some attorney is, you know, anyway, we try to disallow. Wires are very hard incoming for a brokerage. If we need it, come talk to me, right? Or actually talk to Amy or Priyanka. But when it comes to what you're putting in there, I'm going to recommend check or electronic transfer. I think that's covering your bases. Okay. You guys know how to put a property in and your tax ID number. Who here auto populates from the MLS when they're doing it? Pretty much everybody. Okay, guys, be careful. And what I'm trying to hit on today, I should have prefaced it, things that I've seen in my short tenure as broker where problems arise. Okay, and as I go through this, I'm going to point it out. Included items. Okay, guys, take a minute and read that, especially if you're filling out the REPC. If you're like me, half the time I'm doing the REPC, I email a PDF to my client, I go through it, and then I'll send it to them for signatures. That's just my way of doing it. And it's a check on myself to make sure that I've got everything correct. But I see a lot of times under contract, property closes, buyers take possession, usually it's our buyer's agent, and then there's something in the house that was supposed to have been left, or the buyer thought it was real property, or the agent thought it was real property. You guys see that gray area there? Go through this with the buyer. If it's a vacant house, oh God, I love vacant houses. I wish every house was vacant when it's sold. It just makes life a lot easier. Take the time to converse with your client and go through, unless excluded herein, you know, owned, obviously, that kind of stuff, and ask the buyer, hey, there's those big shelves, there's this big, huge thing in the garage, and it's awesome. Is it attached? Is it personal property? Is it real property? I don't know. I've always been taught if it's bolted into the wall, it's considered real property, but is it a safety? Is it an anti-tip? I don't want to have those conversations. You guys don't want to have those conversations. Clarify with your buyers what they are expecting. When in doubt, put it in here in section 1.2. And what's the other thing that everybody needs to watch out for in section 1.2? Who knows where I'm going with this? I heard refrigerators. What's the operative letter? The S. Okay, so I'm flipping back between us representing buyers and sellers as listing agents in this section. Take the time to review the inclusions with your seller and make sure that you're all on the same page. How many times have you sold a property where there's a big, beautiful refrigerator in the kitchen, a not so beautiful but functioning refrigerator in the downstairs, and then a couple refrigerators in the garage? If that box is checked S, refrigerators here, that is plural. You as a listing agent better be telling your client, and even those little tiny college fridges, okay? Again, some of the issues that I'm seeing where we all can do better, myself included, and we can also, when we're working with the buyers on it, let's clarify with the listing agent, make sure we're on the same page with these inclusions and exclusions, okay? Enough said? Enough said. Dropping down water service. Any questions on that? So,
have a property that has a bunch of water shares, and I've gotten a couple of offers where they have listed all the water shares under that section 1.4, but it's actually excluding those water shares the way it's worded.
yeah, you get what she's
And
pointing
so I
out
have
on
to
here.
correct that so that they actually get the water shares. So be
Yep.
careful on that.
Be careful on this, okay? When in doubt, leave it blank, because if there's any water rights or shares and the seller signs that contract, good chance that your buyer's going to get it, okay? Thank you for pointing that out. Read the contract. Purchase price. You guys talk to your buyers about this section. Okay, my only rule on this, just make sure that your math adds up. If you've got 5,000 earnest money, guys, try not to leave blanks. You can do 0 and it's not applicable, okay? Just some good stuff to do. Hang on one second, Janelyn. New loan, estimate it. And if your buyers aren't quite sure, just always tell them that, hey, we can adjust those numbers as deemed necessary by the buyer and the lender. You look like a rock star because then they're not so worried about, oh my gosh, what if my loan amount's more? Or I decide I want to put less down. It's okay. Seller finding at zero. So if you're coming in here, NA zeros, try not to leave blanks. Janelyn?
At least on my REPC now, when I fill it out after they did an update, if I just put 0, it automatically deletes every 0 in the predetermined space. So if you put 0.00, it actually will fill it in.
Oh, okay, good, good. I use NA. Okay. Try to put something in there, right? We're just protecting it, make sure nobody adds anything to the box. Guys, section 2.2, if your client has a house to sell, what do you need? What else? Assume if you check is, what else do you have to use with the offer? Contingency addendum. And if you ever forget that, read it, okay? If checked in the affirmative, the terms of the attached subject to sale buyer's property addendum apply, okay? Pretty easy, right? You guys know the difference between settlement and closing? Do you know how to explain it to your settlements when you sign, closings when you get your cash, something like that, okay? When you're doing your dates, everything runs off the settlement deadline, but every time I go see to Marcel to sit down and sign, I never call it settlement, I always call it closing. So I've just got to clarify that with my clients, right? So explain the difference. Possession, I do see that, hey, we got a delay and then it recorded and then we had this time, we gave the sellers 48 hours to move out. Do your worst case scenario for your clients, and especially on the buyer's end of it. If you got moving trucks involved and stuff, guys, try to get a day or two of flexibility in there. Does that make sense? Okay. Lisa? I agree. Yeah. Lisa's comment was she doesn't like to put hours. She'd rather use days. I agree to that. Hours can be a little bit tricky. You also have, okay, so if you're a buyer's agent, you give the seller 3 days, 72 hours or 3 days to move out. Who's responsible for that property during that time period? Correct. What happens if the property floods? There's no right or wrong answer. You're all right. Yeah, the seller owns the property. Our contract talks about moving related damages and some stuff in there. So if you're giving a seller time, which I like to have on a vacant on an occupied property as a buyer's agent, I usually tell my buyers, let's give the seller till it's done, it's recorded. Sometimes actually need the money to hire a moving company to move out of the house. It was like that for a long time years ago. So we kind of did a courtesy 48 hours. But I got to talk to the buyers about that. You know, hey, you own the house. Yeah, they're responsible for moving related damages, but you got insurance on it and the seller gets, what if the property floods? Who's insurance, right? So you can see there's some stuff that can come up. So do the best you can, right? Educate your clients. I'm going to go into prorations assessments, section 4.2.
I have a question on that. Since they're supposed to deliver the property in the same condition, does that include those possession days?
Probably. Depends on, you know, if it ends up with an attorney, whoever's got the better attorney. Yeah, insurance companies are going to fight you either way. Well, yeah. 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 Be careful, guys. That's stuff that can come up and can get, it's hard. There's a lot of scenarios with it. In a perfect world, I'd like to have possession at closing / recording. Okay. It's easiest when you've got most 99% of the time, if you give the sellers a couple days to move out, usually everything's fine. Okay. So just be careful. Okay. section 4.2, does that just deal with HOAs? So if there's no HOA, who in here like checks not applicable on 4.2 and 4.3? Channel and one. Okay. And I'm gonna pick on Marcel. Marcel, have you ever seen a municipal assessment?
Yes.
So I asked Marcel, have you ever seen a municipal assessment?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
it's pretty rare.
Pretty rare.
Back in the day, Davis County had a lot of like fiber, different, fiber optics, whatnot. But yeah, it's pretty rare.
It's pretty rare, but they do happen. So guys, for your sellers, because as a buyer's agent, what do I always do? 4.2 and 4.3, I just check seller, right? Just throw it all onto the seller. And a lot of times we do that. As listing agents, if there's no HOA, it's extremely rare, but maybe just check and see if there's, we're getting some of these PIDs and different districts and stuff. Just be aware that this is more than just a homeowners association stuff. It's talking about municipality or special improvement district assessment, okay? Rare, but if you're worried about it, counter, okay? HOA. Who loves this section? What I want to talk about on 4.3. How easy is it for us as listing agents to find out what the transfer, reinvestment, beautification, all those fancy words they use? I'm seeing head shaking. It's tough, right? As a listing agent. At least we get some help, right? Because at least in my experience, I call an HOA or try to get in. I don't have a login to anything, or really not so much HOA, but the management company. Okay. And I'm dealing with one right now. My sellers, they have no clue. They bought the house a couple of years ago. They don't know what the transfer fee is. They don't care what the transfer fee is, but I got to push them to get those documents to make sure. I want to be accurate when I'm advertising on the MLS, right? But be very careful. If you see an old document that says it was $250 that was recorded as part of the title, in CC&Rs from 10 years ago, it may have been changed, and then all of a sudden your seller's got a couple $1,000 transfer fee. Who wants to deal with that? Nobody, right? No fun there. No fun there. So do your best, guys, get that. I'm going to talk a little bit more coming up in section 7. Who's familiar with this section? Contribution to buyer's brokerage. It's the new one, right? Everybody good with how to use this? Okay. Word of caution. Take your time. Be careful. Purchase price is the first one. Dollar amount is the second one. Make sure you're filling out the right one. Had one recently where it was supposed to be 3% here, but they put 3 in there. The offer got accepted. Our buyer's agent. The offer got accepted with a $3 BBC. It worked out because the listing agent understood it. They understood. They didn't really even notice it either. Okay, but don't put yourself in that situation where, as a buyer's agent, you put $3 instead of 3%, and the listing agent says, "Well, that's why we accepted your offer, because you weren't really asking for." I can't get a commission for you. Fair enough? Okay. Do we care about title? No. I'm busting on Marcel here. Title insurance, guys. Who does a net sheet for their sellers when you're listing the property? Show of hands, right? Should you be doing a net sheet for your sellers when you're listing a property? Yeah, you should. What's one of the things on a net sheet that you need to cover? Title insurance. How do you find out what the cost is? Yeah, call your title rep or wing it like I do. I'm actually pretty close. And then I add whatever I think it is, I add $200 and I do an estimated net sheet for that reason, right? Okay, if you're not familiar with net sheets, come see me or find somebody in here that's doing one. You can do them on a napkin. You owe that to your sellers to give them an idea. Plus, you don't want surprises when you get the first offer and then you're doing a net sheet and they're like, what is this title insurance stuff? Why is that so expensive? Why is there a $3,000 transfer fee with the HOA? I didn't know about that. I didn't know what that meant. I thought they were just asking for a monthly HOA fee in section 4.3. Okay. We're going to avoid that. The one I wanted to take a minute on here, seller disclosures. Hey, pretty easy, right? Written property disclosure. Who fills that out? Seller. Do you fill it out? No. There's that exclamation point at the top that says listing broker fill out this section only with an exclamation point. If you've never noticed it, take a look, it's there. I personally, what I call proctor my folks through it because I want to nudge them. I have them read the question, they discuss it. If they're, well, I had that toilet. Yes, when in doubt, disclose. When in doubt, disclose. Take some time with your clients. I don't tell them what to write, but I can usually extract a little more out them. You know, if they had, you know, a basement that they finished 30 years ago and they did it, they sometimes just don't remember that. So spend some time on the seller disclosures. You guys know the lead-based paint prior to 78? You're the listing agent. What do you need to be the buyer's agent? And thank you, Kit. The little blue book. I'm not sure on that. I'm not an attorney, but that lead-based paint disclosure says that part of that disclosure is the book. If you're the listing agent and you don't send the book, is your seller in default? Could the buyer cancel the contract and demand an amount equal to the earnest money? Maybe. I'd lean towards them probably having the advantage on that. Copy of any CC&Rs, rules and regs affecting the property. Where is the best place to find that? I'll give you multiple choice. Would it be a website from the management company or the documents, let's say, or documents emailed to you from the seller or the title report?
I was gonna get it from the actual company. They're gonna call and they're gonna request those docs, I believe. You get it from the county?
Barry, yeah, all right. You guys see that okay? You don't need to read it. Here's a title report. And yes, I'm putting in a plug from Marcel because he's here. He supports the office and Marcel is my escrow officer. I want to show you a little condo that I've got. When I get anything that has an HOA, I go into the PR and I look at covenants, conditions, restrictions, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm not really geeking out on this, but I want you guys to know this. Go to your PR and look on behalf of your seller to deliver this whole section 7 of seller disclosures. Look at all this. Here's the original. Here's an amendment, 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 amendment. These are all hyperlinked. So I go in and I download the original CC&Rs. I download all these amendments and changes to it because that is everything that is a matter of public record from that HOA. Am I correct in saying that, Marcel? To me, if it's not on there, I don't think it exists. But on behalf of my seller, I'm going through the PR and I want all of those. I can't just send that. If you send that PR with the hyperlinks to the buyer's agent, does that satisfy the seller's obligation in section 7? Who thinks yes? Who thinks no? I'm in the no column there. It's again, I think advantage in the no column there. Okay. This will also, if there's anything else that, you know, pops up, neighborhood, I don't know, utilities and some stuff, but look through it, but use your PR guys as a guide to gather that information from the right one. I want this one. In section 7, excuse me, copy of the restrictive covenants, rules, and regs affecting the property. Okay, so I'm hoping that's a little tip and trick. If you haven't been doing that, when you need CC&Rs to satisfy section 7, use the PR. Cool. Marcel?
We had a file earlier this year where there was 3 HOAs on one property. And so when we got the information, they only provided us 2. And then when we sent the check in, they said, hey, you forgot this one. And so they sent it to us, but then we went to the county and they had not recorded the notice for that particular. And so they couldn't charge it. And then we come to find out on a different file that they actually did file a notice. So then down the road, they could collect three separate reinvestment fees.
Multiple HOAs, if you're out in the south part of the valley, southeast, be careful. Use your PR guys on behalf of your seller. These sellers, they don't know, but I spend a lot of time with my sellers when I'm going through the offer. This is what I'm getting. Most recent minute, budget, financial, long-term, short-term. You guys know that. I just wanted to point out the one on PR. That the
You guys on Zoom, make sure you mute, please. We
Mute
can hear your
yours.
conversation.
buyer's condition. Okay, we can kind of cruise through now because I've hit some of that. Anybody have anything on section 8.3? You guys pretty familiar with that, right? That's pretty cut and dry with the contingencies in it. What happens if you've got a finance and appraisal deadline of December 1st? You have a due diligence deadline of the 25th of this month. You're doing inspections. You blow by the 25th. You're representing the buyer. You don't cancel the contract or anything, but you never came to a resolution. Can your buyer still cancel the contract and get their earnest money back? On December 1st. And the November 25th. So next week. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So you blew by your due diligence deadline, but the buyer calls and says, you know what? I'm just mad the seller didn't agree to put a new air conditioner in. I want to cancel the contract. Can you do it? Yeah. What would your cancellation say? Okay. If you put it as due diligence, you're risking your buyer's earnest money. Okay. And I just bring that up. Section 8.3 BI. If buyer in buyer's sole discretion is not satisfied. I talk to my buyers about that. I tell them, listen, listing agent is going to understand this too. They're probably not, me personally, I don't care about the due diligence deadline. If there's a finance and appraisal deadline, because I know the buyer and any good real estate agent is going to tell their buyer that they can cancel the contract for whatever reason. They could wake up in the morning of the finance and appraisal deadline with their loan approved, docs at title, and they can call me and tell me that they hate everything about the property. They didn't like the inspections. Can they cancel the contract and get their earnest money back? Yes, they can. So when you're negotiating these contracts as a listing agent, I don't spend a lot of time with the due diligence deadline. I don't, it's just my own personal opinion. I don't want it to be very long. I'd rather it be short, but I'm really looking at the finance and appraisal deadline. Okay. And if they've got a further finance and appraisal deadline, guys, use 8.3 BI. Do you know how to explain that to your sellers? If you got $10,000 of earnest money and you put $5,000 in there and the buyer wants to cancel after the due diligence deadline, what happens? Yeah, your buyer's just lost $5K. So if you're going to use that to strengthen your offer, be careful with it. Don't leave it blank. Put a 0 or not applicable in it. Okay. Get familiar with it. Okay.
When there's multiple offers and people were waiving the appraisal condition 8.2, the earnest money was not protected by the appraisal, and then they would check that the financing is required. Doesn't that still protect their earnest money with the finance and appraisal deadline?
I think I know what question. So I'm going to assume that you have $5,000 after due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And the property doesn't appraise. Try to renegotiate, can't get anywhere with it. Is your buyer going to lose that $5,000 if you cancel due to an appraisal?
We put on 8.2 appraisal conditions is not conditioned on the property appraising. However, we put that there is financing required, which is 8.3B.
Okay. I wouldn't want to fight that fight. I would think the buyer would lose their earnest money.
It says buyer is obligated to purchase the property is conditioned upon the buyer obtaining the loan referenced in section 2.1. This is conditioned referred to as financing condition. If checked, 8.3B, I, 2, 3, otherwise they do not, if the REPC is not canceled by the buyer is provided in sections 8.1, 8.2, the buyer agrees to work diligently in good faith to obtain the loan. It is conditioned. Property is conditioned upon buyer obtaining the loan. If the appraiser if the appraisal comes in low, buyer can't
Buyer can't come up with the cash out of pocket. You guys think we're in a gray area? Yeah, I don't have all the answers on it. I just know if you're waiving finance and appraisal, you no longer have that, you're only contingent, it's like a cash. Your only contingency is buyer due diligence. Most of the time, what we're dealing with is we're checking is conditioned upon due diligence, we're checking is conditioned upon appraisal, and we are checking for financing required. If you put 5,000 non-refundable or 5,000 in 8.3 BI, and the property does not appraise, I believe buyers they're not going to be penalized. I've heard some other attorneys argue it the other way, but I think for the most part, guys, be careful and explain it to your clients generally.
I would also say that it would determine on what kind of loan you're getting, because with an FHA, if you check that it's
Yeah.
not required, but then the home appraisal comes in low,
Yeah.
they're going to get their earnest money back.
Yeah. FHA VA, great point. So FHA VA addendum, guys, if it doesn't appraise, your buyer ain't losing any money, right? Even if you wrote hard earnest money on it, just look at this. Federal government trump most everything. Okay.
Important to note that in new construction, we very often get an FHA, a mandatory clause, an addendum. We will not sign it because we cannot, do not guarantee an appraised value. So until we know that the appraisal has come in at appraised value, then we will sign it. But until then, we don't, can't.
Builder's prerogative. Builder's prerogative. All those are mandatory, man. We were signing those the day of closing. Now I know they get them out a little bit earlier. Okay. Hey, addenda on here. One of the other things I've been seeing, guys, I know I talked about this a few weeks ago. I'm going to keep preaching on it. You hold the real estate license with the Division of Real Estate in Utah. If you are representing a relative, if you are doing a real estate transaction yourself, put the disclosure of interest. It's an addendum. Get familiar with your addendums. It's either a supplementary clause or it's a standalone addendum. If you're writing an offer for your brother and you send the offer over without that, the offer gets accepted, what would you do? Do an addendum and add it after the fact. I don't like that, but get it done prior to, way before closing. Shelley?
Closed on one with my son on Friday, and I tried to send a disclosure of interest addendum. They wouldn't sign it. They said I didn't need it.
Mm.
So is that on them? Because
Nope.
That's on me.
It's on you. Because this isn't me. This is you jeopardizing your real estate license with the Division of Real Estate. They're probably, if you got busted for it, okay? If you're doing a transaction and it goes south and you didn't have it done in there, you're liable. The division, you're probably looking at fines. Your worst case scenario, they will take your license. The disclosure of interest needs to be done. I think it's probably the most important thing that I can tell you guys. Pay attention to it. If they don't sign it, well, let's talk.
Shelley signed it, submitted it, and she could show, I emailed it to them, they're.
Shelley do that prior to the seller accepting
Yeah,
the
if she
reps?
did that like at the beginning before it closed and she had all of
So
her
I
things
accepted an
done.
offer from somebody that didn't do a disclosure. That's where the division is going to look at you and gig you. With the offer, guys, because the sellers come back, let's say you're representing a buyer, okay? you write the offer, they accept it, you go under contract, and then sooner or later the TC says, oh man, I got to get this disclosure of interest done. It's a no-no with the division. That consumer protection, that seller needs to know, I don't know why, but the division says. So put it in the offer. You just send it to them and have them sign it. Jack, how do you guys deal with that on a disclosure, knowing that we as agents, when we have to do that disclosure of interest on it? There you go. It's just if people come back and then, you know, you're sending it over because we've flagged it and you need it to get paid, and then you send it over, and people don't like to sign stuff after a deal's closed, guys. They don't like surprises right before closing. It's not, my opinion, it's not that big of a deal, but get it done.
The agent should ask you right up front, do you need a disclosure of
Yeah.
interest?
And I'm going to take it one step further. We need to know that we do that on every transaction. Cassie?
This is a really unique situation. So my in-laws family are selling their property. She is the listing agent on the property. I'm on the team, but I am listed as a co-agent. They are not the executors, but her brother's the executor of the trust, so he has to sign all the documents. Since I am a daughter-in-law to one of the trustees, do I have to be
do it.
disclosed?
When in doubt,
Okay.
when in doubt, disclose. It's not a big deal, right, to do it. And when in doubt, just like what do we tell sellers when they're filling out seller disclosures? When in doubt, disclose. When in doubt, disclose. Okay.
Mike, I have a really quick question about that.
Yeah.
Would that include lenders? Like if you're related to the lender?
A lender you're representing the buyer and you're related to the lender?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Like say my husband's a lender and
Yeah,
I
if
have
your
a buyer
husband's a
or a
lender.
listing.
Let me get back to you on that.
I think so.
I'm not 100%. I don't think the division would require it, but when in doubt, disclose. You have a financial interest. You don't own it. It's not a relative, but you're buying a property and you're going to give somebody money to buy it. Do an addendum and just say that I may share, I may contribute some money to the down payment, whatever. When in doubt, disclose. Come talk to me about it. Okay, now we're kind of through most of it, but the home warranties, guys, just make sure you check the right box. How many times have you made a mistake? You're representing a buyer. You want to ask the seller for the home warranty, but you check buyer. I know I've done that several times and bought a couple home warranties because of it. Proof, read your documents. If you as agents are having your TCs draft up documents for you, if you're not reading them and proofing them, my opinion, you're violating your fiduciary duties with your clients, not the TC's job, guys. I know we got some great TCs in here that do a lot of work and go the extra mile, but I think as agents, we rely too much on the TCs to do agent work, and mistakes and just stuff gets lost in translation. Okay. So make sure that you're proofing that.
Mike,
Jack, go ahead.
sorry. On new construction stuff, I know many agents that have talked to me that have lost clients because they did not read the contract. They assumed that all builders were like Edge in that we didn't have any build cost or cost plus approaches, meaning the pass through to the client, they sign at $500,000 3 weeks prior to closing. They raise their purchase price by $80,000 because the contract says that they can. And all of a sudden, surprise, surprise, that comes down on the client because the agent didn't read it and wasn't familiar with those sorts of clauses. And Edge policy may change too, which is one of the reasons why in my portal, I have an up-to-date contract that you can read and review at your leisure rather than just on the spot in the moment.
There you go. Great advice. Read. Changes during transaction, shall or may, whatever camp you fall in. I'm a may guy. You can be whatever you want to be on it. Insurance, risk of loss. What I wanted to just kind of, the rest of this, you guys know, I want to talk about walkthroughs. One of the biggest issues, if not the biggest, I think, is we're representing buyers. We're asking for a ton of repairs to be done. We get it. The seller does that stuff. Everything's good. We do a quick walkthrough, or we're not doing a final walkthrough. and we're ready to go close and get it in there. Buyer wants to get into the house. And then they move into the house and they realize that these repairs weren't done properly. There's still problems. Buyer moved in, they call you the following week and say, hey, the seller didn't fix this right, and I think the seller's responsible for this, and they probably didn't disclose it. What do you think is going to happen? Agents call me and they come in and I said, okay, you guys, be careful writing up inspection items to be done. You better be really good at it and be very specific if you need to be. I'm a credit guy. I even tell my buyers that. I like it. It's just a lot less to go wrong. I tell them, you know what, these look to be minor things. If they're big to you, they're big to me. But if you think you can do it, let's ask the seller to get this and you take care of these issues by yourself. Okay, that's how I approach it. But if we've got to move that shingle, fix this, fix that, fix this, fix that. And if you're not doing a final walkthrough, and I'd almost take it to the fact is have them sign off on something that they are complete. Don't get in a hurry to get the deal closed. Do your fiduciary duties. Take them through. Look at this stuff. Get receipts. If you're using the resolution of due diligence, get all the receipts from the listing agent or the seller, review it, make sure you're good, go do a detailed final walkthrough and ask your buyer, are you satisfied with this? We're going to sign this afternoon or tomorrow. I do it a few days before if the repairs were extensive, because if the repairs aren't done to the satisfaction of the buyer, but their lock expires on Friday, shame on you as the agent. Shame on you as the agent. Stay ahead of your transaction, okay? Because I see that all the time. And the buyers come back and say, well, the seller must have known about this. Get an attorney and prove it is pretty much your option. Okay. But then the buyers get mad at you. And do you have some liability with it? And do you have errors and omissions insurance if they talk to an attorney? You bet you do. So just avoid that. So in recap there, I hope I gave you a couple things that were new. And it's always good to review. I'm reading these contracts more now as a broker than I did for, the previous 10 years. And I still like, wow, didn't realize it said that. Owner of record, watch your earnest money. On the disclosures, know how to figure out all that HOA stuff and use your PR as your guide. Be careful with your contingencies and do a final walkthrough. That's a wrap for me. Thank you for taking a few extra minutes on it. Anybody got any questions? Thoughts, concerns? I see food, or it looks like there's food there. So have at it, guys. You're out of here. Thank you. Kind of.